Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Planning Board meeting of Tuesday, March 3rd, 2026. Let's start the meeting with the roll call. Stu Hardy.
Present.
Janice Gomes. Rosemary Eva.
Present.
Alan Meyer.
Present.
Adam Raposa. And myself, Cheryl Valentine. I'm the vice chair and will be facilitating the meeting tonight. I'd also like to introduce Mr. Todd Romano, our planning board attorney, Chris Spencer, our town planner, Ed Rotella, our land use clerk, and Ashley Sweet, our planning consultant from Weston and Sampson. And we can get right to the first item on the agenda, which is Vital at Tiverton Commons, PCP Properties, LLC. It is a major land development comprehensive permit. The property address is 0 Sousa Road, Plat 301, Lot 220, Plat 110, Lot 102, south side of Sousa Road. Residential community with 6 residential structures comprised of 256 units, 64 of which will be affordable. Attorney Mancini has contacted Attorney Romano and requested a continuance to our next regular meeting, which is April 7th, 2026. And with that, the time clock will also be adjusted to reflect this request.
Madam Chair? Excuse me, it's not working. It's on. It's on? I'm sorry. Yes, I received the certificate of completeness with conditions below. Is that all we had as backup?
Or backup for a continuance this evening?
No, for Vital. Okay, after discussion. I will make a motion to extend the time clock for Mr. Mancini.
And to continue the hearing, or just for the time clock?
And to continue the application.
Okay. Thank you.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? No discussion. Do we have a vote?
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Unanimous?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, could I ask a question, Mr. Solicitor?
Hold on, so Vital, by your vote, has now been continued to
Yes.
April 7. As you know from the email from Mr. Mancini, so we can coordinate his third-party consultants. And the time clock is also continued 30 days. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to clarify. I received from Ed, thankfully, a certificate of completeness, and then I received a memorandum from PAR Engineering. I believe it's what was attached, what Sarah went. It's a hydraulic evaluation. Did everyone receive this?
I don't know, Mr. Rotella, has everybody received the PAR engineering report as part of the Google Drive?
I added it to the Google Drive, and I put it in the mailboxes of those who request it in hard copy.
It is in the Google Drive, because when
Yep.
I checked, I couldn't find it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And as far as the certificate of completeness, you only received that now because they were just certified complete upon submission of that PAR engineering report.
Yes, she notes that on her
Perfect.
certificate.
Next item, public hearing, major land development for Trilogy. Representing agent is Attorney Matthew Landry. Okay.
Mr. Landry, you're just going to request a continuance?
That's correct.
You're good.
Thank you, members of the board. Attorney Matthew Landry on behalf of the applicant, Trilogy. I had not expected to be here tonight, but I realized I had something else on the agenda, so I wanted to just formally make a request to continue this application to the April planning board agenda. The reason for the request is twofold. One, I've been working with staff to try to schedule a TRC meeting. We think it makes a lot more sense to have the TRC meeting, have them weigh in, have the planning board review those comments, and allow our team to address those comments before a subsequent public meeting. And to coordinate that, we were not able to get that TRC meeting scheduled before this, so I think it, again, makes sense to continue this to April. Ed and I are working on a date in March upcoming that we could have that TRC. Those comments will come in and we'll respond, and I think it makes sense to proceed that way. Our team is also reviewing the text amendment that had been proposed. I know there was some concern over the town-wide impacts of the language with those revisions. We took those to heart, and we're reviewing the language that was proposed and finding ways to minimize any future long-term impacts on a town-wide basis to try to limit the effect of that zoning amendment, and I think that will be helpful for the board to review in advance. So with that, my client has agreed also to extend the time clock to correspond with the extension of time to allow, the full 90-day period. So the date, I think, is May 7th. I think it's April 7th right now, so we would continue it a month from that to accommodate 2 more planning board meetings.
The current time clock expires April 14th, so you're agreeing to extend that to May 14th?
That's correct. Thank you.
So I would move to approve the request of the applicant to extend the time clock to May 14, 2026. And to continue the hearing to our April meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct. Thank you.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay, thank you, Alan. And vote on that?
Right, ask if
All-
there's any discussion.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay, unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank
When you're
you. Getting caught up in my own stuff. Okay, the next one, public hearing.
natural, don't.
Project name is Spring Street. Applicant is Tiverton Investments, Mark DeMello. Administrative subdivision application. Property address, work will take place along Spring Street from Baldock's Lane to Spruce Street. A portion of work will take place in Fall River, Mass. Attorney.
Thank you again, Attorney Matthew Landry, on behalf of the applicant, Tiverton Investments Incorporated. I'm joined by Mark DeMello, representative from the applicant, as well as Bill Smith, the project engineer. This is a little bit of a unique application that I'm not sure the board sees very often. It contemplates the development and improvement of an existing paper street that stems from Baldock's Avenue, which is a pretty narrow, about 12-foot wide roadway that's very limited in access for a couple of improved lots. Spring Street is an unimproved road that was platted many years ago but had never been developed. No one had pursued development of the lots that run along Spring Street, and further complicating this matter is that it's in 2 jurisdictions. This will require both the Tiverton Planning Board's blessing as well as the Fall River Administrative Planning Board. We do have applications pending in both, this one here before you as well as in Fall River. Both jurisdictions have different road standards for improvement of public streets, or excuse me, unimproved public streets. Your zoning ordinance has a very specific provision that we've submitted this application under. It's under Section 8, I think Article 4, Section 8 of your zoning ordinance for unimproved, private streets. The process is to submit an administrative subdivision application, which is a little bit unique in terms of process, and there's some standards for the Director of Public Works to weigh in on what the appropriate road design would be, and that it's of an appropriate standard for safety concerns and ingress and egress. The ordinance, the zoning ordinance, also has specific regulations as to what the road width should be and the material of the road should be. It requires 2 10-foot travel lanes to allow cars to pass on both sides, a 20-foot wide travel width total. And it also requires that it be made out of gravel or some other permeable material, which, again, is a little bit unique. Typically, you want a fully paved road with Cape Cod berms and, all these other requirements. This is coming off of Boldix, which is, as I mentioned, a very, very narrow, small road. Mark and I drove down it this evening with the snowbanks. You could barely fit a truck down that road that's already an existing public street. What the applicant is proposing to do is a 16-foot wide road with a Cape Cod berm, and to construct it out of asphalt. It's much more stable. 16 feet, we think, is more than adequate, given the neighborhood and the existing street infrastructure that's there. 16 feet is just slightly smaller than what's required under the ordinance. But we do propose to have a T section for emergency vehicles and access. I don't believe the fire marshal has weighed in on that, but it satisfies the standards laid out in the ordinance with respect to a T turnaround for emergency apparatus. Part of the reason for the asphalt one is long-term maintenance of the roadway, and certainly the width would accommodate emergency vehicles better than even what exists on the roads that come into Spring Street. The other part of this is Fall River has their own requirements and actually requires an even larger, wider roadway made out of pavement. So we're trying to keep it as consistent as possible because you actually pass through two jurisdictions as you go down Spring Street. And it would be a little bit odd to have an asphalt road than a gravel road in varying lengths and widths. So we're trying to coordinate with what Fall River will require. They haven't approved this yet, but we're trying to propose something similar so the entire length of the roadway is consistent, and you have consistent treatment of that for Tiverton emergency services and any residents living along Spring Street. With that being said, because this came in an administrative subdivision, it's a little bit unusual for the permitting procedure. This may require additional review either by the zoning board, or I think Mr. Rotella had commented that could come back as a unified development project. The reason I say that is you've got road standards under the subdivision regulations that would be within the purview of this board and is within their purview. But the minimum road widths and the specific details of the unimproved for unaccepted streets is set forth in the zoning ordinance. So it's a little bit odd that it comes in as administrative subdivision instead of a formal planning board application or an application to deviate from the subdivision regs. I say that out of abundance of caution because this is classified as a major change and the application is properly before you. This was not going to be done administratively because of those waiver requests. I'm just recently getting involved in this, so I sort of defer to the board and council if it's more appropriate to re-advertise this as a unified development project with the same request for relief, or if it's in the board's desire to review it as the administrative subdivision as an advisory opinion to the zoning board and have the zoning board weigh in on that. These standards seem to mimic what the subdivision regs say, so it's a little bit of an oddity in terms of permitting. I'm sure Mr. Romano can appreciate that. So that just kind of came to light. It's something that's been discussed with staff. I think we could proceed either way, but out of an abundance of caution, I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page with the waivers. What's before the board is a major change to a recorded plat because of the deviation in the road widths that are required under the that unaccepted streets ordinance. So I think the board could review it subject to any approval from those variances by the zoning board. So I know that's a lot of information. Essentially, it's just an improvement to a paper street, but we deviate from the standards that are set forth for road design for unaccepted streets.
You want to go?
Sorry, Ty.
And that's why we have it listed as 3 potential modes of review on the application to try, or the agenda to try to cover
Sure.
or anticipate everything. It is an oddity, as you say, Mr. Landry. I think that we still have to proceed as an administrative subdivision, only because it's called for by the zoning ordinance.
Yep.
And in the alternative, also as a major modification to a recorded plan, as we have identified in the agenda and I think as was originally advertised. What we did not originally advertise were the specific waiver requirements from the zoning ordinance that are requested. And I think the abundance of caution would require us to advertise with those specific waivers requested. And again, as an administrative subdivision per the zoning ordinance, and in the alternative as a major modification to a recorded plan under section 2350 of the subdivision regulations. And I think we can do it as an administrative subdivision because while the statute still stands, if the administrative officer does not act on an administrative subdivision application, it is automatically referred to the planning board.
Right. Yep.
So I think there's jurisdiction there for it. It's just an odd way to get there.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm glad we're on the same page. I just wanted to kind of put that out there that it's a little bit different in the way it is set up and the way it's classified. So I am comfortable proceeding in that way, but I just defer to council and your advice to the board on which way is more proper. I agree with your analysis, though, on the way it's been advertised and set up.
I think if the applicant agrees and the board agrees that it should be re-advertised in the alternative as zoning ordinance, as an administrative subdivision under the zoning ordinance, Article 4, Section 8C, as well as Section 2350 of the subdivision regulations for a major modification to a recorded plan, and then specifically identify the two waivers you are requesting, one for the more narrow road and two for the different top coating. Yeah.
Get rid of one of them.
No. Watch it. Yeah.
So Todd, is this unified review? No,
It's not unified review.
Eliminate one of them.
because it's a waiver, not a variance.
Okay. but-
It is not a dimensional variance.
Right.
Subdivision regulations refer
Try to-
to, it's in both.
Right.
Chris, do
do you
you
think?
want to comment on that? I have a question.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think the subdivision regulations refer to the zoning, and it's kind of back and forth. So I think the planning board, I think, would be within its purview to grant any kind of waivers on those regulations within that process. So I think that's,
Does, yeah.
again, this would also require every one of the lots within Tiverton that would be developed to show setbacks, things like that, well field areas, septic systems, and then the deed language that's required for any of those for a non-accepted street. So there's two sets of those, which I can send to you. So we'll just do a building determination rather than building permits, because initially what it requires is you to go for a building permit and then the building department to refer it to the planning board, but you're not going to get a full building permit without the street extension.
Yeah.
So, just showing those house lots with the setbacks, well area and septic area proposed.
Okay.
And then the language for the deed restrictions.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
So, if the standards for the unaccepted streets, including dimension, are in the zoning ordinance, wouldn't that be dimensional relief?
It's not one of the standard dimensional criteria that we look at, the setbacks, the height.
But it's a dimension,
I
and you're
know.
asking for relief from it.
I know, and I was going to ask Mr. Landry why he had brought up unified review. I'm not opposed to reviewing it as an administrative subdivision unified review.
Well, we all have to just get over the administrative subdivision
Right.
part, because we all agree it's just odd, but that's what it says. I'm just thinking, I understand it's not a setback, but it is a dimension, and it's a standard dimension for a roadway for an unaccepted street. It would feel like that's something you'd have to get relief from through a dimensional variance.
I'm fine with over-advertising, I guess, and I think Mr. DeMello would be as well.
Yeah, we're trying to be overly cautious in how we do
I think
this.
that's the more cautious approach, is to consider it dimensional relief, advertise it as such, do it under UDR,
we'll figure out how to advertise this.
We'll confer separately and come up with
Yeah, I mean,
a
if
plan on how
it
to do it.
simply just referred you to subdivision and that's where the standard was, then I would agree, but it does call
Yeah.
out specific measurements for things, and I think could go either way, and it might be out of an abundance of caution to just cover it as a UDR, as
That's
relief.
fine.
Yeah, agreed.
Rosemary, follow.
I have a question for Mr. Landry. You say they will be coming in from Fall River onto this, and we will be coming in from Tiverton on this, from Boldick's Lane, correct? On this is a very, not Mr. Smith's best plan, because the orientation is so on a scale here, there's no scale. I'm having difficulty with it, because your orientation, you've got Fall River on one side sometimes and not on the other.
Fall River.
We had no narrative with this as to what was going on
Spring Street. It is presented
on that one,
your scales.
that one there. But then we have other pictures. Bear in mind, we don't have anybody to tell us what's going on. There's no narrative. How many lots are going to be on here? How many lots, Mr. DeMello, are you going to develop off of this?
But right now, we have the three.
Just those
In Tiverton.
in Tiverton?
That is in Tiverton, correct.
And then you plan on developing in Mass, too?
I have one lot that is in Fall River, that my brother-in-law, he has ownership of. Well, we'll have the ownership of that.
Yeah, I'm just going to remind the board that we're going to re-advertise this, so whatever you say tonight will have to be repeated
Understood.
at the next hearing. But please pose your questions to them so they know what to anticipate next time. And
Understand, but I'd like to see a good picture of it and a narrative with it.
We can provide a narrative. I don't think that's an issue. We can certainly put something together.
We're going to modify the plan for Chris's request, the house as well as septic system, that sort of thing on lots. Other things that you want me to show on there, I can do that one. Obviously, so there's houses on the lots already? No, there's no houses. Okay. So the only lot that has a house on it
Right in the
is
corner.
this one up in the corner on Fall West Lane.
So you have access to that, those lots from both Beach Street and Bolduc Lane?
No, Beach is paper, they're all, paper, everything but Bolduc's is paper street.
are you on the GIS, Adam?
No, I'm just on his, at the assessor's map.
Can I make
You
a
show Bolduc
suggestion?
Lane, it shows Beach Street and the lots right.
Yeah, if you're on the
These
GIS.
lots. Yeah. I think this is the
Right,
GIS
we're
as
kind
well.
of like turning our heads around and trying to, if, other things will wait there.
There's so many little differences on this circles and, shows Fall River abutters, and then it shows Tiverton abutters. Nothing is drawn out here.
We couldn't mesh the two assessors.
Yeah.
To try and
Yeah.
show you the abutters on that. And Fall River honestly
Going
has
for,
more documentation of lots over there. We did get a certified list of the abutters from Fall River as to what they show, but there's some dead spots. We have no idea.
going from a 30-foot right-of-way to a 16 feet, it doesn't sit with me, having sat on the street committee many years ago.
But that's a part of the problem too, is it's not a normal 40 or 50 right of way. 30 going this way, 35 going the other direction. When they did the original subdivision, 1800, just looked like a checkerboard.
For Stafford, but when Mr. Bolduc did his part in Tiverton, the Bolduc, that was never recorded as through a subdivision.
What part was,
The Enabling Act hadn't come in, I don't think, at that time.
well, the subdivision plan, Tiverton, Stafford Heights, and Tiverton and Fall River. and it-
Yes, that
was
one.
the original.
The first one. But then when Bolduc Lane and all those in Tiverton, that's another era.
Well, they did change some of the names. It was like A Street, B Street, and we had a debate on Beach and Spruce and Walnut, and duplicate street names in different parts of town, and it's a little bit messy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Is there anything additional that you want me to share?
So can I make a suggestion? Because when we originally looked at this, Ed and I, because the way that that map is oriented you can't look at GIS and that plan and you're like turning yourself upside down to try to match them together. And
North orientation.
if you could do a north orientation and, or even include like an aerial that shows the area outlined so that you
Okay.
can imagine that looking at the GIS and that we were turning the map sideways trying to match it so that we could sort of figure out how it actually aligns.
Okay.
That might help people orient themselves better because the way that you have that oriented doesn't align with the way that people kind of think of things, which is like north is up. And it made it hard to sort of figure out where the line was, where you were coming in, which side was Tiverton, which was Fall River. And so I think if you just orient it that way, it would help people figure that out.
Thank you.
I completely agree with that. I looked at the map because I was planning to go down there, but the snow intervened. But it's very confusing.
Thank you, Ashley.
Can I also ask that we get a computerized version of this so that we can put it up on the screen for whenever the next meeting is?
That was sent over.
I'll work
I
with
think
you on
Chris
that.
can, yeah, help out with that.
I believe that was.
That way everyone can see what you're presenting.
We have it if we wanted to project it.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Landry, if you agree, we will continue, we'll take a vote to continue the hearing, extend the time clock
Yes.
concurrent, and we will re-advertise for April,
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
if the board agrees.
We need a motion?
Please.
Okay. Could we have a motion on that?
So
Yes,
moved.
So I'll make a motion to continue the time clock to, what?
Hold on, Stu. June 7.
June 7. Time clock continued to June 7, and then continue the hearing to our next meeting in April. What date in April? would-
7.
7.
That's correct.
We actually have a motion on the table, and we need to have a discussion.
There's a motion,
Right.
do we,
Do we have a second?
Mics, I'm not getting a lot.
We have a motion on the table. Do we have a second?
continue to April 7, the hearing, what's going to be re-advertised, extend the time clock to June 7.
So do okay, thank you, Alan. And discussion. Do we have discussion from the board? Any more discussion?
Take a vote.
Okay, if we could take a vote first? A vote to approve that?
That motion?
Phew. Okay, all in agreement.
Now, there was a gentleman that did have a question,
That's what we were going to ask.
and I cut him off because we were in the middle of a vote, but I guess it's up to the chair to,
Yes.
Sir?
Can you come up first and just introduce yourself for the...
My name is Mike Stroop. I actually live on Site 1 right here in this area that's be impacted by this development. Question I had is, what is Tiverton going to do about the 177 and Stafford Road stoplight? Right now, as it is, we can't handle the traffic that comes through that stoplight as it is. The subdivision, what are the residents that live here going to do about it? How are we going to get home in a timely manner instead of it being backed up to the roundabout? Law enforcement, bring in something that's low income. Everything, we don't have the law enforcement, the potential crime that is going to come with it. So, and we didn't know anything about this. The residents that live directly around. None of us knew anything about it. None of my neighbors knew about it. I paid quite a bit of taxes on it. Foremost, wife who's from here, the one that looked it up, be like, hey, can you go to this meeting? Normally, I'm a combat veteran, I don't come to these things. A lot of people around, so. Those were my concerns, I just didn't know what Tiverton was gonna do about it, why we're not being informed about it. Oh, there we go, sorry. And, those were just my concerns.
Okay. So the planner will try to address those questions with the DPW director and police chief. And as far as notice, it was publicly noticed in the newspaper. So it did.
Who reads the newspapers these
Well,
days?
we also sent the zoning sort of letters.
Oh. There's also a mail notice to those within 200 feet of the radius of the street.
Yeah, that would be Saudi Pond area where I live, and knowing what these gentlemen are gonna do, because I run heavy equipment for a living, there's gonna be quite a bit of construction equipment around, and it's gonna clog up the streets even more so. So,
The meeting's been continued to April 7. We welcome you back.
all right, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda, public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda, public hearing, the applicant Alfred and Barbara Aruda for the Aruda minor subdivision. It's a minor land development and subdivision, 139 Lazywood Lane, Plat 501, Lot 103. Attorney Kurt Chappelle and William Smith, R120 zoning district. Attorney Chappelle?
Hello, everybody. We're back. Let me try to refresh your memories. Mr. Aruda has a 19.97 acre.
Do you want to just check your mic?
I don't think. Has a 19-plus acre parcel, and he's looking to divide it into two lots. One lot is already owner-occupied by himself, and the second lot is for his son. The problem is that it's a fairly unique lot, in that the lot does not front on a public street. It takes its frontage off of Rod Way, which is not only not in or developable, but not capable of being put in because of wetlands. He has historically accessed his property off what I will call a way, an easement or a road, but without trying to convince you what it is, I'm just going to call it the way. He accesses that off of Lazywood. He is the only house that accesses off of that. It's not a easement or a way or a road that has access to any other properties. It abuts the lots of the original subdivision, I think 5 and 3, and both of those owners have a letter that was submitted last time to tell you that, in their opinion, it's not their road, they have no interest in the road, and no objection to the subdivision. I would like to think from the last time we talked that nobody has a real problem with it, except that it breaches some regulations. The advantage to the town in doing it is that this two-lot subdivision of 19 acres would be marked no further subdivision, which brings me back to how it was originally created. So originally, Ken Nash, I believe his name was, for KN Construction, developed Lazywood. And he came in with this 12-lot subdivision that was some 2,000 feet long. And in my opinion, back in the day, the planning board would make him go every 500 or 600 feet and put stubs out to the adjacent properties to the right and left as part of good planning. 100% of the times I've done it in the last 40 years, they're marked proposed future roads, paper streets. And back in the day, we didn't used to deed that property to the town. Now, when we subdivide, we own the large tract of land. We sell each of the lots off, so we've given that piece away. And the road system we deed to the town itself, so the town owns the road. Back then, mere platting the road was a dedication to the town that it was their road, but they were always marked future roads or paper roads. This one just isn't. It's marked easement. And because it's marked easement, Todd has done a pretty good memo, a great memo for you. I understand, I can argue the different points, but the truth is, it's marked an easement. So was the road directly across the street, I remind you, off Fraziewood, which is now developed as Pelham. And when Pelham was developed, it was only a couple of years after these stubs were created. And there doesn't seem to be anything in the minutes that, despite the fact that that was also called an easement, that it was challenged legally on whether or not anyone had access. But we're later in time, and it's marked easement. Because it's, then you have to add that the Arrudas, through, I think with their mom back in 1998, came and developed, or they asked to create the lot that we're creating about now into two pieces. My reading of the minutes are slightly different than Todd's, but his is correct. When he came in, he said, I don't have the access on 8 Rod Way. My access comes across what was called of right-of-way at the time. And he didn't want to put it in as a full road. In hindsight, he should have just paved the full road. But he didn't do that. And the planning board minutes suggest no further subdivision unless I put in a road. The issue wasn't whether or not I could put in a road on that easement at the time, but it was whether I had to develop up to town standards. Now, because of time and because of the law and because of the case law that was quite frankly cited and the reference to easement, now there's a kind of a legal challenge to that. So in order to grant it, as Todd told you, we would not only need the variances that we were looking for. Waivers, I'm sorry. The difference, by the way, a zoning ordinance requires a variance. A modification of a subdivision regulation requires a waiver. The waiver has a standard that's in Todd's memo that basically just says it makes sense planning and it wasn't caused by us and would cause an undue hardship. So it's very possible to do it, but we recognize it may be going out on a limb because there's a question. I don't think there's any question that everybody knows the Arrudas have used that road for 40 years and that nobody else uses the road and that it's improved better than most roads already. But legally, if we had to prove there was an easement, we go into the town hall and we look for a deeded easement. That deeded easement would come from KN Construction saying that if I was retaining ownership of that, I hereby give an easement to the Arruda property. My argument is that because he thought it was merely a planning board requirement to put in a road, of course he wouldn't write an easement because you wouldn't dedicate it as a paper road and then write an easement saying, in case 30 years from now, somebody says it ain't a road, here's an easement to say you can use it. Easements, it also logically, if you look at the fact that it was a large tract of land that came before the planning board, and as a result of that plan, they made them put in those stubs, who could it be for other than Mr. Arruda? It is a straight road that does not benefit the 2 lots by deed that abut it, and it ends on his property. So it's kind of clear, at least the intention was that it was the benefit for the Arruda property. And I don't think there's any harm or foul except precedent and things that you need to worry about, because you can't declare necessarily that he has title. So rather than stick you out on a limb like that and go against your solicitor, which I would advise most people not to do, I'm going to
Especially this one.
Especially Todd, that is true.
But Cor, I did give the board
I did.
multiple options.
And I'm going to ask for option 2. That's where I'm going.
Okay.
They gave you multiple options, one of which was just ignore all the law and give it to them because they're nice guys, and I appreciate that, and I'll say aye, here we go. But another one made sense to us, and here's why we requested it. What we're going to have to...
Hold on, you said number 2?
Number 2 about us...
Just make sure the board is aware
Yeah.
of which one that
Number
is.
2 is, at the end of the day, would require the least relief possible from this board because we are trying to obtain title to that piece of land. If we had title to that piece of land, Todd suggests that we then merge the piece of land that we get title to, so it is attached to our piece of property. This property now has 40 foot of frontage on a public road. We may need a variance on the amount of frontage on a public road, but we have it. We could then ask for the 40-foot strip to be a private road. Bring it, of course, to standards of a private road, do a 2-lot subdivision, restrict the land to the 2-lot subdivision, make sure the fire department, who's already, by the way, suggested this was okay, but we'll have that done again. And the requirements or modifications would be fairly minimal. You wouldn't be developing off an easement, you'd be developing off a dedicated frontage on property that we own that touches the public road of Lazywood. We'd be asking to put in the private lane with the homeowners association and doing it. That's a big ask to ask for a conditional approval. But if you have no problem with this subdivision, other than the technical aspects of the legalities of it, we're going to ask that you approve it subject to getting that. And here's why. We have to go acquire that title. And that means that we have to, in all likelihood, because we've tried to find the Nashes, and we're going to have to file what's called an adverse possession case in Superior Court. And not that it matters to you, but spend a lot of money in doing that and probably a lot of time. We would do very well to be back here in 6 months and more likely back here in a year. And if we spent all of that money and did that and then came back to you and said, now I own it, and you say, I don't really care if you own it, I'm not giving you the modification anyway, you can't have the subdivision. We just think that we would like to be able to know that it's going to happen. So it would be, I guess, time constraint that we'd have to do it within a year, wouldn't we, Todd? Unless we got an extension.
Yeah.
Because the approvals, as you know, run out if we don't file accordingly. And it's really just preliminary approval with administrative final, so nothing bad can happen. We'd still need administrative final to be done, which would make sure you had adequate title, make sure you had your homeowners association, make sure that the fire department had signed off. It would just be one of the checks of the boxes so that we could move forward without completely wasting all of your time and our time spent to date.
So appreciate your summary and your recommendation on what the board does. I would just like to hear from our attorney, and he provided a summary for all of us. Just want to hear his recommendation on moving forward.
So Mr. Chappelle is right. This board cannot make a decision regarding title. We've come to that conclusion. That's per the case law. And that's what you would have to do if you were to grant Mr. Arruda a waiver from the subdivision regulations. Go ahead.
Apologize. Can we back up just a little bit? So is that, sorry, nobody else can see it. This is the right of way now?
Correct.
This is existing, right? This is how you access these
This
houses.
is Lazywood,
Yeah, I get that.
and this is his driveway. It goes back to his
And you're
house.
trying to legalize this right away?
Adam, it's labeled as a right-of-way, as an easement
Where's
on
the issue coming from? What's the problem?
the subdivision regulations require that there be a permanent and physical access to a public road. And in Tiverton, you have the extra condition that an easement does not satisfy that physical and permanent access.
So it just has to be called something else?
They have to have a title to that property.
They have to show title.
If they don't have title, then you have to waive your requirements.
And the butters are not willing to sell that right away?
So the abutters don't own it, is what we understand, and I can't,
Nobody
Doesn't
owns
sound
that.
like anyone.
The original, so the two owners of the lot that are on each side,
Right.
they could potentially say, hey, I've got a right of way. They've given us a letter that you have that says, we got no rights now, and we have no objection.
Okay.
The problem is, Nash owned everything. When Nash deeded out this lot, and this lot, and this lot, and this lot, did it by meets and bounds, and by referencing. He never deeded the road itself. Which, and the plan, whether it's the planning board that didn't make him do it back then, he didn't do it. So he technically, or the under that road. When you file a plat, you dedicate that plat, and everybody can use it. We wouldn't have a problem if that said paper street. And when Pelham did it, I guess we didn't have a problem with that. But it's not labeled as a paper road, labeled as an easement, which suggests, at least on paper, that he retained a title ownership in it. Todd's taken the position, which I totally understand, that if the paper says that it's written in a way that the owner of the land retained an interest, then how do we jump to valid title? There's nobody on the planet that could stop us at this point for using it. When you file, if you look at number 2 and number 3, his recommendations, one is that we get title to it. The second is that we get what's called a prescription. A title to a property of adverse possession. You say I have adversely possessed it in that I have openly, exclusively, adversely, and notoriously used it for 10 years. A prescriptive easement is to adverse possession. The same way that just you can say, I have a right to use the road because I openly continue. I guarantee we can. I believe we have title because it's the same standard.
And I agree, they can probably get adverse possession, but we can't make that decision.
How can we make it as easy as possible for them to do it?
I have.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's trying. If we only got an easement, then I'd have to come back, I guess, and say, now you need to waive that requirement. But I think Todd was saying, practical matter, go the distance, I'll get adverse possession, don't have my board waive something. Future, even though in this particular case, I have objection.
Yeah.
Right? Present. Oh.
So there's no more building going on either side of that, those are just, not like these lots there are gonna be built out in subdivisions.
There are homes on each side of
There already
the
are.
They're
Oh,
existing
they're already
homes.
done. It's
Yeah,
just a
that's an
matter of
old-
that road.
yeah.
They don't have possession of it, and we know it's gonna take an hour, I don't know, a year, Brad.
I don't know.
Probably.
I do title work, Alan. I don't know, especially with no opposition.
We're hoping we find an heir that gives us a good enough deed for you.
There's no conditional way to waive based on their adverse possession, which would allow them to stop doing what they're doing.
So one of my suggestions or recommendations, possibilities, I guess is a better way to say it, is to waive the requirement for permanent and physical access entirely. Okay? I don't think that's a great recommendation for you to go with.
How will that affect us in other?
Because then if there's another project similarly, I'll call it landlocked,
Yeah.
with a potential easement over an adjoining parcel, you then have to treat that project the same way, even if it's a 60 or 100 home project.
No way to specify this.
What would be the difference?
The reason I say that, it just seems like we already know it's a foregone conclusion what's going to happen. It just seems to adversely affect somebody from doing what is going to happen. It's not like they're going to be sneaking in 50 more lots and doing this kind of stuff.
Understood. It also gives them great title, nice, clear title to that easement, roadway, the future.
Yeah. And is there a reason why it's the rush now to get that road fixed? You've been using it forever?
Oh, nothing will change because we're going to use, it's our only access, we're going to use it every day since. What changes is his ability to start his house. That's what changes. And that delays that out a year, and that's, yeah.
I agree, Alan. And I've acknowledged they probably have adverse possession title. This board cannot make that determination.
Right.
And again, I could try to narrow it, try to be, it is a relatively strange set of circumstances if you're looking, because first of all, you need a large tract of land that has public frontage, that I can't get to the public frontage, that has a question of an easement that was clearly created by the planning board and is deeded plat, that one side of Pelham was already determined to be a road, and the other side, because it was marked an easement, is later done as an easement.
I get it.
And
I
a
don't know
prior
if Pelham should have
subdivision
been.
was
No.
done on.
I don't know if Pelham should have proceeded.
Probably
with
should have
it.
been, but in the world of precedent, we can always hide behind, we followed something we probably shouldn't have
Not something
done.
that was done wrong, though.
That came in separately.
Yeah,
I
but,
mean, I have to fess up. I signed the plan. When Mr. Romano said you
it only
signed the
dates us,
plan.
fessing up dates.
Back in the
that's
day.
problem.
So I went in and I read the minutes. The file was not available. In the minutes, and you probably saw it, there was a written opinion from the solicitor at that time. We did not have a solicitor appearing at our meetings. I mean, we would have to,
That was
and
Jimmy
I had to
Donovan's
look up who the solicitor was, and I told Ed, and if he could find the file, and I told Mr. Romano, but the file hasn't been found. Maybe there's more in there, I don't know. But Pelham came in as a separate.
It
I
did.
mean, your history is not quite
No,
on
no,
it.
the fact
But
that
Kenny
it's
Nash
separate
was
with a
there.
different owner, Kenny Nash was there, but it
Yeah.
actually came in, what was the name of the family? Hobbleston, I think, yeah. So I think if it came in with Kenny Nash, it doesn't help me, because
No.
if he's there, he converts an easement to a road by being in
Right.
front of you. But when it came in under Cobbleston's, then you would have expected the minutes to say that thing we put in. Your comments in the minutes are, that road should be square. I want it square. I don't want it at an angle. And for 2 hours, it appears, people went on why it had to be angled just away, or they were going to lose a lot. But there was a lot of minutes. It just wasn't, can we develop off of this? It was, can I move it and make it square? And Nash said, I'm not giving the land off of my other lot to do that. That's how I read the note.
Sir?
Did we send this, article in section 2245, is that supposed to say 2247?
I don't know, Adam.
Well, because you referenced 2247 everywhere else except for right there, and I'm trying to find.
Oh, then I probably did mean 47.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just reading it quick and trying to listen, but I just want to make sure. I'm not missing something.
I do make typographical errors,
I'm trying to call you out.
as well as many others.
The general laws do give a standard for variance and a standard for a modification, and the modification is a little easier.
No, the reference, Adam, to 2345 is to the required findings of the board.
Okay.
To include subsection 5 of permanent and physical access to a public road.
Todd, can I ask one question too? If we do this by waivers, then we're not doing it under the compound, if you will, and then the request that we originally had to have 4,750 square foot is not relevant anymore. When this got done, it would just be regular subdivision with restrictions. But have to add the agreement for no further subdivision, but it's not mandatory. If you recall, this started pre the 24th, when it was R80, which allowed that two-lot subdivision, not allowed now. So this would just be a conventional subdivision with a deed, with a planning board restriction of no further.
The house he's building, that won't have anything.
Can you say,
The house he's building won't have anything to do with us.
I think the proposed house, there are no issues with the setbacks, coverage,
So
or anything
can,
else we would be concerned about.
can we waive it based on them, like, getting their ducks in a row at a later time so they can start development of this lot, or? Like, is there something we can do so they can start one part of the project while working on this part and still give them a permit?
That is individualized, isn't it? A specific waiver for,
A waiver to start their
No, no, no,
construction
no.
while still trying to get title?
Well, yeah, like,
well, no, he has title to the property. It's the,
Here's the problem, guys.
they're gonna apply for this building permit. Well, hold on, Todd, hold on. They're gonna apply for the building permit, right? And
That's why I'm gonna
this
stop you
road's
there.
gonna be an issue.
That's why I'm going to stop you there, Adam. This is a preliminary plan application.
Right.
Which is going to be, if you conditionally grant it, cannot go to final plan until the conditions have been met. And until they have final plan approval, they cannot get their building permit.
How long is the process gonna take for that?
From,
From the start, from what he can do to the point where he has to have initial, meaning that if he has to go the way of adverse taking.
let me try it like this, Alan. I think once he satisfies the conditions that I've recommended of getting title, moving from preliminary to final plan, it's going to be very simple, and it should be a matter of checking boxes off. There's a limited time period, 25 days?
25 days.
After they submit their final plan application.
Certified.
The administrative final?
Yeah.
So our whole problem is you don't want to set a precedent. That's pretty much, you don't want to set a
Yes.
precedent. And that's the only reason it's kind of basically just,
It's what your ordinance says.
no, I'm saying we don't want to set a precedent. We're trying to overrule our brains and our hearts here, but precedent will be set and it's an issue.
Correct. It's a very prescient
I get it.
issue
No, I get it. I
with
get
other
it.
applications today.
Sucks.
So I think if we can bring
I
it
concur.
back and get your recommendation, and then we can hear a motion?
So what I've heard from the applicant is that they agree with my recommendation of number 3, to approve the project, assuming it meets the requirements, on the condition that the applicants submit to the town planner, and I'm going to paraphrase, either fee title from an heir to KN Construction, or fee title through a court order, that applicants apply for and are granted an administrative subdivision merging that current 40-foot easement with the larger lot. They bring the 40-foot easement roadway up to town standards for an unaccepted road as per your zoning ordinance. That the roadway is identified on the final plan as a private road, and to include a note on the final plan, the private road shall not be accepted as a public road, nor shall the town be liable for construction, reconstruction, maintenance, et cetera. And that's because of a lot of concerns that the town now has with whether a road is a public road or a private road. That they create a homeowners association, that the deeds for the proposed lots A and B include easements that permits the town to either maintain or contract to have maintained the private roadway should the homeowners, for whatever reason, fail to do it themselves. And the unaccepted roadway meets all of the requirements of the fire marshal.
So Todd has provided a memo to us dated February 26, 2026, and in that, number 3 is the recommended course of action that he advises us to take. Is there a motion to accept that?
Yes, I would make a motion to accept option number 3 in Todd's memo dated February 26, 2026.
Thank you, Stu. Is there a second on that?
Second.
Thank you, Janice. All in favor? Or any discussion first? Any further discussion? All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4.
I'm abstaining.
4 yes, and
So the abstentions are going to be counted as nays.
Yeah.
so one will pass.
We still
Or will it pass?
Majority
Two?
passes.
4, okay.
Now, to be clear, that's only, I'm going to say that vote was only for number 5 of the required findings for a preliminary plan application. Is that good, Ashley? Right, so we still need to have a discussion and vote as to the other 4 requirements of the preliminary plan application. Good? And you provided a memorandum previously, Ashley?
I do, I have it. I can,
So would the chair care for a motion at this point to approve the other 4 criteria for the preliminary plan approval?
Right. No, yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
so I will make that motion.
And that's based on the recommendations and findings in Ms. Sweet's memorandum dated
Yes, so my motion is,
I can read them in if you.
so my motion would also reference Ashley's memo of November 25.
Okay. Is there a second on that?
I just wanted to get some, was it in the packet for 12-2 then? And what was the title on it again? Ruta compound memo or unified?
A Ruta compound memo 20.
All right.
Oh, it's on page 4.
If we get a second, I can explain the conditions.
Okay. I'll give you a second. Sure.
Ellen? Okay, discussion?
So to be clear, Stu's motion is to accept Ashley's recommendations and findings as to the following required findings under the ordinance: that the proposed development is consistent with the town comprehensive plan. The proposed development is in compliance with the standards and provisions of the zoning ordinance. There's no significant negative impact, environmental impact from the proposed development. And the proposed development will not result in the creation of individual lots, areas, parcels with such physical constraints to development that building on those lots would be impractical.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay? Do you understand what you're voting on?
So we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor? And Rosemary?
Abstain.
Abstain. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for your efforts, because I know everybody's trying. I appreciate it. I do think we're going to be able to solve this edge of it
Good luck.
relatively quickly.
It's nothing worse than waiting for your house. Paperwork.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is 5A, zoning amendment recommendation. It's a request to amend Appendix A, Article 4, District Use Regulation, Section 9F, to permit veterinary office or animal hospital as a permitted use in the Waterfront 2 district. Discussion and vote on recommendation to the town council.
This was a recommendation to you from the town council to review this request. It's pretty self-explanatory. I don't know what else you want to hear from me on this. It's permitting a use in the W2 zone, which originally was prohibited. I don't know.
This is in a building that used to house a florist. It was Paul's House of Florists, for anyone that remembers that area. This isn't a dissimilar use. It's not going to be a strain on parking as far as we know. Rosemary, did you have a question?
Do we have any backup on this?
The backup that
Was the
I would
request to
have,
consider it
I think for 5A, she said.
the two-page?
right,
I
but
don't know what she's talking about.
Yes, 9A.
This is
I'm
Jay
sorry.
Lynch. I'm sorry, Jay.
What, where are we talking about?
Didn't realize you were here.
No,
Attorney
no,
Lynch,
but what
please.
was the location?
It's not that, don't
Well, she
worry about the
mentioned it.
specific
She
location.
mentioned it? No, she's trying to clarify.
yeah,
It's
we're
about
not
the
doing
W2
this
zone.
for a single person. We are,
She had mentioned a particular location. I was just, yeah.
1750 Main Road
Okay, thank you.
is this particular request, but it's allowing it in that district, in the Waterfront 2 district is the issue.
could somebody, my question has to do with the definition of veterinary office or animal hospital. And can somebody refresh my memory on, did we put a size limitation on, for example, a veterinary office or an animal hospital?
No.
Because when we change zoning, that option becomes an option available to anybody.
Right.
Not just the particular person who is petitioning town council right now. So
Ashley-
Todd or Ashley, could you refresh my memory on what we did? Because I seem to remember a discussion about being a little concerned about the size of a veterinary office or an animal hospital in the waterfront district.
Right.
Hospital, there are performance standards, but I don't think we set a size limit. So the performance standards talk about outpatient, veterinary outpatient clinics shall be designed, constructed, and maintained so that the sound emitted through exterior walls and roofs enclosing areas where animals are treated or kept during treatment shall not exceed 45 decibels measured by the dBA scale. A noise management plan must be submitted demonstrating that noise levels will not exceed the limits set by Chapter 38, and so on. The plan shall include measures to mitigate any potential noise disturbance. This requirement shall not apply to a clinic composed only of a structure where small animals or pets are given medical or surgical treatments and are cared for during the time of such treatment only. Such clinics must be within a completely enclosed building with no outside facilities or accessory structures for animals. There shall be no grooming or boarding of animals except as required for medical treatment. Animals shall be housed within a building. The facility is not permitted to have outdoor areas designed for long-term occupancy. There may be a provision for a single dwelling unit for an on-site caretaker or animal keeper. Public water service shall be available at the site. The applicant must provide at the preliminary plan stage of review written confirmation from the applicable water and sewer authority that there is adequate service available for connection. So those are the standards.
So Ashley and planning board colleagues, I'm supportive of this and would like to do that tonight. But I think that if everybody agrees, we probably need to put a size limit just for the waterfront district, not any other district, but because of the small lot size in the waterfront district and the parking issues in the waterfront district, I think we need to put a size limitation. And I'm going to suggest that a size limitation of 10,000 square feet. That is larger, that would be larger than the existing Secaunet animal hospital that we have on Main Road right now. So 10,000 is a pretty large building. But I think we need a size limit, given the sensitivity of the waterfront area.
I know this was discussed when this was originally proposed by the subcommittee and then, when it went to planning. Ashley, there was no size limit that ended up being approved?
I'm looking, I don't. Give me 1 second.
It was in the initial discussions.
I know we put size limits in for certain things, or we broke it down in the category for certain things, but we also had the conversation that when you put the size limit in the actual use table,
No.
it becomes a use variance type of issue. I read you the performance standards, it's not in there. I'm just looking through to see if it was placed in the use table. I know we did talk about size limits for certain things. Yeah, so it does not have, it's under the service section in the district use table, so section 9, and it's F, and there is no, it says veterinary office or animal hospital, but it does not have a size limit. It sends you to Article 6, Section 10, which is the performance standards that I just.
Right.
So you could send back a recommendation that they amend Article 6, Section 10, whatever the specific item was for the veterinary clinic, and ask that they add a line to that performance standard that it's limited at 10,000 square feet. People can get a variance, but they're most likely coming to you as a project anyway. If they're establishing a new building and it's over 10,000, they'd be asking for that relief most likely from planning, not in every circumstance, but that would be you could send back the recommendation with that size limit.
And that would just be for waterfront too? It wouldn't apply if it's in general
You would have to
commercial or another
specify, you'd have to
district?
specify in the performance standards that in the waterfront 2 district, there is a 10,000 square foot size limit.
Right, and that would be my recommendation, and I'll actually turn that into a motion if you would like.
Yeah.
No, not yet, please.
Oh.
Only because Mr. Lynch is here and he may have something to say.
Number one, Jay Lynch on behalf of the petitioner here for the zone change. First, I don't have any objection to your size limit. That's going to be, the proposed use is less than the 10,000 square feet. I'm here just to give you a little bit of background as to how we got here. The applicant was looking at this property for a long time and had discussions with the zoning officer of whether a veterinary office was permitted use. At that time, I believe this was in the general business or commercial district. They closed on the property. Between the closing and applying for the building permit, the town changed the zoning code and placed this property in now the W2 district, where veterinary use is not permitted by right or by special use permit. So my client ended up buying this particular unit based upon at that point, the permitted use, and then discovered that the use is no longer permitted. So now they've got a condominium unit they have no use for. So we couldn't argue that this was a grandfathered use because the veterinary office never got underway before the zone change. So the only way we can address this is to change the zoning ordinance to allow veterinary use in the W2 district. And that's what we've asked. We're asking the council, and they've sent it to you for an advisory opinion. So we're asking that you give a favorable recommendation to the council to amend the ordinance. And we have no objection to the condition limiting the size to 10,000 square feet.
What
For
is the size of
waterfront
that
too.
unit? I'm sorry.
It's less than 10,000 square feet. I believe it's
it's
somewhere
pretty small.
it's somewhere in the 4,000 to 5,000 square foot range.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So
do.
I would
Hold
make
on,
the,
Sue. Just part of your consideration, for the statute, you're recommending this change to the town council because it's generally consistent with the comprehensive plan of the town of Tiverton, including its goals and policies, right?
yes,
As well as that this zone change demonstrates recognition and consideration of each of the purposes of zoning,
yes, correct.
all as required by the general laws, 45, 24, 52.
Thank you for the amendment to my motion.
I have nothing further unless you have any questions.
I had a question for you. Were those performance standards in place when you, when your client purchased the lot?
There were.
And anticipated putting a veterinary office there? Because they seem extremely restrictive for a veterinary or animal hospital.
Well, I can't say for certain. I wasn't involved in the initial negotiations, but I know that the unit is less than 10,000 square feet, and the unit was sufficient for my client's needs. So-
It seems restrictive to me. I mean, I wish they weren't so restrictive for that type of use, because how do you have a veterinary care facility or an animal hospital without any type of outdoor facilities for animals? And they're just, like, you can't have them, right? Ashley, isn't that what you read in the performance standards? You can't have any type of outdoor
Believe there were
area at all?
restrictions on outdoor, yes.
You can have outdoor, but there are restrictions on it.
Well,
Well, no,
As I
I think,
recall our discussions.
would you mind
just hold
reading
on.
that again?
Yep. I just have to find, I'm in the right section, I just have to find them again. I don't remember what the number was. H? No, I gotta find the standards in Article 6. Oh.
Right, so there's.
So there was noise restrictions, about 45 decibels. You have to have a noise management plan. Yeah, it has to be completely enclosed in the building.
Right.
It does say with no it's a little confusing the way
Makes
it's
your building
written.
really small when you have to have some, space like that for
You
animals within
you
the
have to
walls.
remember too, though, that these are performance standards
Got
and
it.
that you can ask for relief from them.
Okay.
It does say, so it reads a little bit odd, and it says, the plan shall include measures to mitigate any potential noise disturbances. And then it says, this requirement shall not apply to a clinic composed of only of a structure where small animals or pets are given medical or surgical treatment and are cared for during the time of such treatment only. And then it says such clinic must be within a completely enclosed building with no outside facilities or accessory structures for animals. I believe that the such clinic must be within a completely enclosed building with no outs is referring back to the small animal clinic. The restriction doesn't appear to be, the way this is written, doesn't appear to be on the larger clinic.
But if you read number 3, it doesn't matter.
But if you read number 3, it doesn't matter. Well, no,
Animals shall be housed within a building.
designed for long-term occupancy, meaning you can't have outdoor enclosures and yards that are, we're gonna house animals.
50 by 50 fenced in area, which they should have for.
I agree with you. I don't think that that's what this is prohibiting. I think it's prohibiting long-term occupancy outdoors. Kennels, yes. And I think if you take number 2 in its totality, the reference of the clinic being completely enclosed is for the small animal reference right before it.
So we
Because
have interpretation.
it does talk about outdoor areas. It just says you can't have them for long-term occupancy. And you have to have a management plan for how you're going to mitigate noise.
That's probably why they don't want the outside kennels.
Well, kennel's a whole
but I mean,
other
you can-
animal, pun intended. I don't think that reads that you can't have any outdoor enclosures. I think
Okay.
you can, you just have to have a noise management plan for that outdoor enclosure, and they cannot be designed for long-term occupancy.
And that may not be applicable here, since we're dealing with the condominium. So the condominium is just within the 4 corners of the building.
Yeah, I mean, not all facilities have the ability to keep animals overnight and walk them. And some clinics are just, you're in and you're out and that's it. And it sounds like this might be that kind of situation if it's a condo and there's no actual outdoor yard anyway.
So should I restate my motion, or does everybody?
I was going to do that. But please.
So I would move that this board approve a veterinary office or animal hospital as an approved use in the waterfront 2 zone, with the provision that would be restricted to the waterfront 2 zone, that the buildings not exceed 10,000 square feet. And that would be the footprint. And further, this motion finds that we are consistent with a comprehensive community plan and with the purposes of zoning.
Thank you, Stu. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Alan. Any discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
10,000.
10,000.
Next item is 5B, update on URI groundwater study. Ed has that project and has talked to Sony from URI.
Yeah, so we asked that the University of Rhode Island be here tonight because they asked us for a no-cost extension for the URI water study. We had samplings done in October for pathogens and for phosphates and nitrates. We had gotten the results for the pathogens, but we had not received any results for the nitrates or phosphates. So the plan was to have the University of Rhode Island here, a representative, to discuss or answer some questions that we may have regarding some of the timing of this and what goes into the no-cost extension. Unfortunately, I received an email today from Professor Prodenhong from from URI, and she asked that she's not going to be able to attend tonight. And I think for the best interest in everyone involved, we should continue it to the April agenda to try to have someone here, representative, to answer questions.
I would just ask if we could get a confirmation from whether it's the professor or someone else before we schedule it on the meeting.
Yeah.
To make sure they can attend.
We had a confirmation, and this was delivered today, so.
Thank you.
I would add to that, that the project is set to expire on April 30th, so they have motivation to be here on April 7th.
That is motivation.
And it's a 3-member team, so somebody should be available. So I completely agree with that to continue. Do we need a motion to continue this item?
I would
Probably
like a
not.
motion, Stu, just keep everything
Okay.
clean.
So I would make a motion to continue this item, which is a discussion of the University of Rhode Island groundwater monitoring project to our April 7 meeting.
Second, it's due.
Thank you,
second
Adam. Okay. Any discussion? Yes? If you could just state your name and address for the record, please?
Yeah, A.J. Miranda, Captain Circle. The only thing I want to bring up is what was tested so far. I don't know exactly what it's called technically, but it was for the bacteria type of things. On that test, the only result we got back was pass or fail. Now, I've had my water tested almost every year, or every few years, independently with an independent tester at first and an independent lab. And I got a written report back saying what's in there and what's not in there and what the individual measurements were, and pass or fail. So just speaking up to make sure that the town is getting their money's worth from this study, because it doesn't seem like the results so far have been adequate, and it's been a long time going. So that's all I want to say. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments.
Okay.
Hi. Mrs. Van Hoff, just your name and address for the record,
Sandra
please.
Van Hoff, Bearwood Drive. This is more of a suggestion. For those of us who are part of this study, if we could submit our concerns or questions ahead of time, so that when you're having your talks with URI, you could, take what we are concerned about. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it seems like almost nothing's happening with this water study.
Actually, I think that's a very good point, Ed, if that's okay with you, that they can direct any emails to your attention.
Absolutely. Send the emails my way.
Okay, because, there's a quantity part, a quality part, which they've done one thing, and there's a quantity part which they've done nothing. And it's supposed to be 4 times a year.
And both of those items are in the contract, you're correct.
Correct.
They're not just looking at quality, they're also looking at water levels, water tables.
Right, and that hasn't...
Sometimes they forget that.
And that hasn't even begun. And that's supposed to be 4 times a year. So
They need special wells for that. They need wells that are not constantly used. And that's been the problem, and that's why we were trying to, that's a discussion for another day, but I completely, Sandra, I think your idea is a great idea.
Okay.
And we appreciate that, thank you.
And you can copy me on any emails too, if you'd like.
If any other residents that are part of that study have the same concern, if you can direct your emails to Ed. Ed can also copy Stu on that so that everyone is involved. And maybe they could address those concerns when they come in for the next meeting as well.
Oh,
Okay.
that was discussion.
We had a motion and a second. Robert, sorry.
Robert Jobin, Stafford Road. I was part of this study with URI. Haven't heard anything. Big black hole right now. One thing that I did cue on, Ed said that the pathogen report is back. I would assume that if there was a problem with any well in the town with pathogens, the owners have been notified.
That's correct.
Okay, so.
We had one well that tested positive for pathogens, and the owner was notified and retested, and they passed on the second test.
So I think that's good public knowledge, just for everyone. It should be widespread. Maybe the next meeting it could be brought up, but thanks for your attention.
And there should be a report, I'm sure, at the end, where they report too, of their findings.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be something when they give us their findings. Right now, we have just the pathogen, so.
And you can ask those questions at the next meeting. Thank you. We have the motion, we have the second. All those in favor? Thank you. Next one, item 5C, recommendation to the Town Council on amendments to Appendix A, zoning ordinance. This is one issue that I have asked that it be continued to a future agenda. I didn't specify which one. We need to have a workshop with the planning board members. We've got an upcoming workshop also with the Tiverton Town Council, and we need to determine the best way to move these things forward. Right now, it's just, it's not flowing smoothly. So we just want to put this on a little bit of a pause. Once we have those workshops and we have the mechanisms to do that, then we can bring this up again. Okay, thank you. Next one is item 5D, request to waive the requirement for the Administrative Development Plan Review pursuant to Appendix B, Tiverton Land Development and Subdivision Regulations, Section 23-89A1. The occupant of 1719 Stafford Road is proposing an indoor children's play space. No expansion of the structure, site work, or exterior construction is proposed. Property is located in the pedestrian-friendly zoning district. I believe Ed has an update on this as well.
I'm going to refer to Chris if you want to, or you want me to take it, Chris?
No, you go ahead.
All right, so this application came to us in the portal, the OpenGov portal, from the building official and the zoning officer. The zoning officer first questioned if there was a use in the use table it would fall under. He determined that he was going to have it fall under the like use of a daycare, a licensed daycare without the license, but it's essentially a small facility where kids can, under supervision of their parents go in with them and they use it as a play space for an hour or two. This is not like a gymnasium, or it's not filled with bouncy houses or anything like that. We're talking like, toys on the floor, Legos, things like that. Sometimes they'll do activities, arts and crafts, some activities like that. But the question was, because of the change of use, would it fall under development plan review? And under development plan review, change of use is on there. We determined that it would be an administrative DPR. However, under I think one of the sections, you can waive, the board has the right to waive the requirement of administrative DPR. And so the suggestion from the planning office is that the board waive the administrative DPR for this, because there's really no work being done. One use moved out, another use moved in. So that's the synopsis that I have of it.
And you've already coordinated sign-offs from the fire personnel as well as the building?
In order to get their certificate of occupancy, they have to meet requirements from the building official and the fire marshal.
That would govern each play center.
Have a discussion about it?
I don't know.
Yeah, how about some background on it? Where is
Drop
it?
your kids off. Is it a daycare?
What was the
No, it's a
other
daycare.
house?
That's 1719 Stafford Road.
Yeah,
1719, yeah.
The Dunkin' Donuts Plaza
Okay.
on Bliss Four Corners.
We, comments?
Discussion right now.
Yeah.
What
What
is
was
it?
the,
Is this a business?
Yes.
Okay, so
Business.
it's a paid business.
Part-time
People come in
business.
and use it for business. Okay, it sounded like someone was using the living room for parents to hang out. That's what it looked like. This is a business. They actually charge people to come in and sit down. Okay, all right.
It sounds like it's parents with toddlers.
Yeah.
They come in and they have a play area, the parents can,
Yeah, but is there like, so the type of business that was there before, I'm sure there was a certain occupancy as far as the fire department was concerned. Is it different when you allow kids to come in and play?
that's what Ed was coordinating with the
They have to
the
meet,
fire
they have
department
to
and the
meet all
building
those
inspector.
requirements for certificate of occupancy.
It
Okay,
just
so
didn't
it
say
just-
that it was a business. It sounded like someone's coming in playing in the river.
Yeah, no, it's a business.
What
It's a
was the
business.
business before?
So what
It
will
may have
they?
been a dance studio. It was a dance studio.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
The issue here is,
The activity.
it's a commercial enterprise,
Okay, yeah,
right?
right.
They need to have some type of approval.
Yeah.
Planning offices looked at it, determined that in their opinion, this is a development plan review application, change of use with no significant or major construction, and therefore, it can, if you grant them a waiver, they can even be waived from having to have the DPR review.
Any other discussion first? So,
Have you looked at the waiver ordinance?
Yeah, they can have their waiver. I think we're all in agreement that they
Right.
can play with their kids in this.
Because, right, the use will not affect any existing drainage, right? Will not affect any existing circulation, will not affect any relationship of buildings to each other, will not affect landscaping, buffering, or lighting, or other considerations of development? Is that why you want to grant a waiver?
I mean, do we, is that the case? Like, right?
Is that,
It's
is
not
there a
gonna- I
motion
mean,
here?
They're not going to build like a
They're going
children's
into an
play.
existing space.
All right, so, yeah.
the Dunkin' Donuts Plaza, it's in between the Chinese restaurant and Dunkin' Donuts.
What? What? No, wait, 1719 Chinese restaurant and Dunkin' Donuts, hold on. No.
The Dunkin' Donuts Plaza.
Wait a minute, 1719 Main Road?
No.
No, Stafford.
Oh, Stafford Road. I'm looking at Main Road.
Stafford.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. I was looking at Main Road. I'm like,
It's
what,
been
this place
several
is-
different
yeah,
things in
okay.
that whole plaza. They're in between the Chinese restaurant and Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh, yeah, okay, okay, all right, all right, all right.
One of those small buildings.
Oh, I'm looking at one, I was looking at Main Road. My apologies. Okay, better idea of the place.
So do you
now.
still
All
feel
right.
the same way?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
we're good. Either
Ready
way,
for a motion, or are we gonna?
more so.
Yes, please.
I'd like to make a motion that we waive the requirement for administrative development plan review pursuant to Appendix B, Tiverton Land Development Subdivision Regulation, Section 2389A1.
We have a motion, let's get a second, and
I'll
then
second it.
discussion from Janice.
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, Ed. Discussion?
Does the state have any regulations that?
Yeah, I talked to Ed. Ed, do you want to address the question from Janice of who you've checked with?
So the building official and the fire marshal are, they're trying to get their certificate of occupancy. And they have to go through the portal and they have to get checkoffs. So this
This
is
is not a
under-
licensed daycare, Janice.
Yeah, it's not a licensed daycare. So,
People are just going to come in and drop their children off?
No, they stay.
Don't leave the kids.
They don't leave.
Oh, okay.
No, and it's a pretty small area, and we're talking like blocks, Legos, and arts and crafts.
But Ed is having them check it out to make sure, the fire.
Yeah, they have to.
is-
They have to.
Right.
They have to.
That
That's
he gets
their
those
requirement.
sign-offs ahead of time.
Our requirement would be to review if there was substantial work being done to the exterior, to the interior, any sort of change in the parking lot, the grade, the signage, the lighting, anything like that, which
Safety.
it's all, they're, one's moving out, one's moving in.
Is there any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, everyone, thank you.
So.
Okay. Item 5E, General Planning Board Correspondence. Want to acknowledge the correspondence by David Laporte on 2/2/26, Shannon Korzanowski, 2/3/2026, and Sandra Van Hoff, 2/15/2026. It's just to acknowledge the receipt of non-specific project correspondence. The next item, 5F, Tiverton Comprehensive Plan Update from our town planner. Chris?
Sure. So we put together a RFI, which is a request for information. So it's sort of a preliminary look at who's out there in terms of different firms or different leads for putting together the comprehensive plan. The idea really is to solicit some ideas, to get an idea who out there might be interested in doing this, and to generate a list of different companies that we could solicit later on. So I have developed the RFI. It's fairly simple. It's non-binding. So there's no award at the end of the RFI. It's really information purposes. This has been sent to the administrator, and he has then circulated to the town solicitor as well as Todd. And they've looked at it. I know Todd's provided some comments to us, and it will be put on BidNet by the end of next week. So it's about a 30-day time period for return of information. So that's pretty much it. And then the next step would then be developing a full request for a proposal. Yep. You want me to talk about the budgeting right now? Is that how we do it? Yep. So we do have budgeting on the comprehensive plan. So the budgeting will no longer be in the planning board budget for the comprehensive plan. This will follow much of the same sort of pathway that the North End study did. So it'll fall under the gaming or the capital expenditures rather than the operations budget. So that is the plan for that. And that will happen later in the summer in terms of the actual capital or the gaming revenue. So it falls outside of our budget.
We don't need any.
Nope, it's an update.
Item H is with you again, Chris, planning office update.
The budget.
Do you want me to do that thing now?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to talk about some of the other stuff?
Oh,
Hold
I
on.
got the
Yeah.
budget.
Oh, sorry.
Skip the planning board budget.
While you're doing that, I've got to set up
Yeah.
computers.
So, as Chris, you want to announce the next item?
I was
the budget?
thinking he talked about the budget already, but he only talked about the comp plan budget. Item 5G is planning office update approval of the planning board budget for fiscal year 2026, 2027. Discussion and possible vote of planning board budget.
So last time we were here to discuss the planning board budget, we had included the monies for the comprehensive plan. Because that is not part of your budget anymore, we need to have a new budget. And Bill at the time and Cheryl didn't feel comfortable making that budget determination themselves, although you had granted them authority. And that's why it's here for you this evening, to decide what type of budget you want for your actual planning board.
Numbers.
2025, and 13,000.
Altogether, 3,000 for subdivision regulation amendments and 10,000 for professional tech services.
No longer with having the comprehensive plan that's going to be handled from capital.
Different line item.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be an SRA, we don't need to request that.
Correct.
First time we're hearing the change to the budget we discussed a couple of months or so ago, removing that line item, and this is the remaining pieces? Or is-
That's what we're
That's
asking you to
basically-
decide, yes.
Yeah, I mean, can we see it again, or?
Yeah, so last year we budgeted 3,000 for the subdivision regulation amendments, and we budgeted 10,000 for professional technical services. We had a remaining balance of $6,753 in professional technical services, and we had a remaining balance of $117.42 for your subdivision regulation amendments and advertising. So you were kind of close to the advertising budget. You had, only $117 left.
Do you
You
line
didn't really
item-
use your professional technical services budget all that much. You could switch it around, or you could ask for a little bit more.
Do you line item your office supplies?
We don't have any office supplies in the planning board budget. That comes out of the land use budget, which is separate.
No changes in costs of what we're doing year by year?
Advertising's going up. So 5,000 would be my suggestion.
Go up every year, so we want to make sure you budget.
you said it comes out of the land use budget?
For office supplies and things like that. There's land use which encompasses building and planning, which is separate. That's, doesn't involve the planning board. Separate them altogether.
So how about zoning amendments or anything that's going to come from the subcommittee or training requests that'll come from our workshop? Should we budget for that ahead of time, or do we need to know the exact numbers first?
Well,
If you provide a range you might need. That's how the town administrator. Yeah, I think if that's not in there, then we should definitely get that.
We know we're going to need some training, and I think this is the
With comp
year
plan
with
coming
new
up.
members, with 2 openings,
members, yep.
that we should have an increase in budget for that.
So when we did the conservation training, the conservation planning,
Development.
Conservation development training, we used professional technical services. We used that budget for that. However, with the comp plan coming up and some other things that could potentially happen with now that we actually have the ability to maybe go out and get some things done, some studies that we may need, that the board may need down the road, maybe we look at a separate line item for training.
We had, talked about watershed areas, having
Right.
that evaluated if it's been over a certain number of years, things that we need to do, and recommendations that'll be coming from the subcommittee. So I don't know what those numbers will be, but we should have a little bit of a buffer in there. Nothing extravagant, but something to cover it.
So would we recommend a separate line item, Todd, for education or training?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So to Alan's point, you have the advertising budget, which should probably be increased from 3,000 to something. You have the professional services budget of $10,000 from last year, with a significant amount remaining still this year. And you want a line item for education.
And anything that we haven't spent at the end of the fiscal year goes back into the general fund, correct? It is not dedicated, so if we don't spend all of the 10,000 for professional and technical services, for example, we can't keep what is left over for next year.
Right, there's not a roll.
Right, so there's no role, there's no dedication. So in that instance, I would recommend that maybe we go to $5,000 for advertising. Keeping in mind that if that amount goes even higher, that the clerk's office has said that they have money that they can dedicate for us, for the planning board. So I think 5,000 is going to be enough for that. Technical and professional services, I would keep that. I would tend to raise that to maybe $12,000, but keep it modest, because I think that some of the additional professional services that we may need can come out of the comprehensive plan budget, because that will go into the comprehensive plan.
I just remind you that you have a lot of projects that you want water studies for. I'm calling it water studies, but water expert opinions on. Right?
When we have
What do you-
engineering services, does that come out of this budget, or is that a separate budget? Like engineering consulting?
That comes out of the applicant's escrow. So the applicant's paying for those engineering services for the most part. Now, we would have to pay for the engineering services if we wanted something done,
Or-
outside of our.
And all peer reviews come out of the applicant's
Correct.
funds as well.
Traffic studies outside of applicants, I think.
If it were a peer study that you required, that would come from the applicant. Applicant would pay for their own traffic study and the peer review.
Yep.
Those minimum maintenance. A lot of line items, you have a minimum
So I would recommend 12,000 for professional and technical services.
And did you mention any number for training, or is that something that Ed is going to develop based on what we need? Okay.
We can develop it.
But if you're going to take a vote tonight, we need to have a
Yeah,
number.
we need to have a number, 1 of 10.
Yeah,
Is that too much?
I can't imagine
3.
training outside of the free training that we get at the state level, that statewide planning pays for. If anybody wants to go, I know I did years ago, Andy Tights was doing it at that time, but you go to a neighboring community typically, and, all of the members of the planning board in that particular area could come in and sit. And those sessions were typically, I think they were like 2 or maybe 3 2-hour sessions. And it just went through the basics of the planning, how the different steps in, master plan, preliminary plan, final plan, all of the different things that we do. But that was free. I cannot imagine any kind of training that we would need to pay for.
Well, we are required by law to attend those meetings.
But they're free.
Yes.
Yeah, so we don't need a budget for that.
The State Office of Planning does have annual free training, but I think, and I've talked to Ashley about this in the past, they don't have a lot of resources to now offer those regional training sessions. I know we tried to find those last year, and there was none available, but we can certainly check into that. I guess they had to cut back on some of it. They didn't have a lot available. Because we had to wait over 6 months to find something I know that I could attend.
I think it wouldn't hurt to put in a number, maybe 2,000 or 3,000, because there may be opportunities to bring in some speakers too. So to bring in somebody to talk about, just about traffic in general, about how the impacts are, how, different ways for planning boards to sort of consider what traffic impacts might require a study, which ones wouldn't, just to give background on that, whether, different
The questions to ask.
things, or different things that come up in general planning review that would be great to have a little bit more of an overview and background. Not necessarily planning board training, but again, just more educational.
We just attended, Susan Anderson and you and myself just attended a webinar.
So we could call this something like planning education. And it would be so broad that it would cover a number of different things. And it would basically supplement our technical and professional. So I would recommend 3,000 for that. So we've got 5,000 for the advertising, we've got 12,000 for the professional and technical services, and we've got 3,000 for the planning education, which we're going to define so broadly that it covers a multitude of sins.
Hopefully not.
Well,
But I think,
that we
want some flexibility.
if we really need something, right.
It's not always free to bring somebody in to talk to them.
So that would be I would put that in the form of a motion.
Who's making that motion? Is there any second on that? Thank you. Any other discussion? Questions? If not, all those in favor? Planning office. Okay, 5H, planning office update from Chris.
Yep. So one of the things we're going to be looking to do at the next meeting, and again, we're part of this, I know we're in this room temporarily, eventually we'll be back in.
Chris, do you want them to come sit out here so they can see?
What's that?
Do you want the board to sit out there?
You can sit out there or turn around. I think it's really not a ton of stuff. And I think at the next meeting, we're going to orient this a little bit better, so we've sort of got 2 wings where everybody can see this. But the idea really is to create one presentation for the entire planning board meeting. And this would be to have all the applicants submit some electronic images, some PowerPoint slides that we then integrate into one large presentation for the entire thing. That way, as applicants come up, both the planning board and the public are going to be able to see what they're talking about, rather than, you know, as we see sometimes somebody's got an easel with a 24 by 36 inch piece of paper, that they are really, you know, their audience is the board, but we also want to be transparent and make sure that the public is seeing this as well. So this is, part of this is just a bit of a template in terms of doing this, and we'll be sending this out so we can start off with the agenda, have that up front. But it's really about, you know, having each applicant create a project cover page. So we're going to have all of the information that's germane to that project on that cover page, so we don't have to re-enter all of that. And then really looking at what makes a good presentation. So one of the things we see a lot of times, both with the easels, but also even with some of the presentations, is that people use one sheet, 24 by 36, they put up a graphic and it's got a million different things going on, like on this. So this is, you know, in this image is kind of what we don't want to see. We don't want to see an aerial, site plan, different maps and things like that. This is an opportunity for applicants to actually zero in on what they're trying to talk about. So here's one with just 3 images. So you've got a close-up of the site plan itself, you've got the zoning area, and then the site locus map as well. You can also do just a single image with text, and then what you can do, what an applicant can do, is walk through an image like this. Rather than pointing and trying to get you to understand where things are, in this particular case, so there's one where somebody might be talking about parking, residential neighborhoods, new construction, egress, and nearby commercial, where in the PowerPoint they can quickly just go through and color these. So now they can, instead of pointing to it, there's the parking area, we're going to talk about that. This area around there is the residential area that we need to be concerned about. This is the actual footprint of the new construction on this project that's happening. The egress in and out is happening here. And then we have some nearby commercial, like, you know, right near there. So that's an easy way to get applicants to just use a simple site plan instead of having 1,000 layers with everything, be able to quickly walk the planning board through this and allow the public to see what that presentation is all about. The other thing we see sometimes there are multiple renderings or images on one page. So here's one where somebody is just given a bunch of little images, and it really makes it difficult. So again, using just a simple PowerPoint and using the graphics, we can do that, and now we can see there's the image right there, the full image. It gives, it's much easier for the public to see, it'll be much easier for the planning board to see, and really just be able to walk through it. So that's our intent, is to get these to all of the applicants, make sure that they're getting it to us. We will comprise it all into one single thing, and then we don't, as a board, we don't have downtime where people are setting up, plugging in, worrying about you know, the technical aspects of this. So I think it's a good way that we can also save that on our drive, so now we've got information of what that presentation was on that. And this is going to be in addition to all of the other stuff that they submit and we have on our drive.
Well, I think this will make it much easier, especially when you have continuances.
Yep.
Where we don't want to keep on digging through projects that were heard 3 months ago and bringing that information back to a meeting.
Yeah, and this
And
is
if
not,
you have a template, we
Right.
can have consistency from project to
yeah,
project.
this is not meant to supplant everything else they provide. This is really presentation. So if you also notice, we've made some modifications to the overall format of the agenda. And within this agenda, what our intent is, and we don't have it yet, but right where the item number is, you've got a little bit of a ribbon there, that will eventually be the project number. And on that project number, there will be a hyperlink that will allow you, even the public, in a PDF, electronic PDF, to be able to click on that and pull up all of the information to that project, site plans, renderings, the application itself. So again, creating an easy way for the planning board to get information, but also for the public. And eventually allowing you to be able to see where a project is within its development review. because sometimes they're going to be going to zoning, sometimes it's a combined review, things like that, just so, or they're, at preliminary stage, we're waiting for this. So again, it's just an opportunity for everybody to be able to see where things are in the process and what is all the information. And again, the more information we can provide for the public, the better it is for them to understand these and be educated about it and know what's coming up. So that's kind of what's in the works right now.
Are these water renderings pretty standard for software and drafting software now, or is that going to be an upgrade that?
No, we're not going to require a rendering, but if it's a project that does have renderings, again, this is just a sample of these were some images from when I worked for the city of Albany. We did this, and again, we have very lengthy agendas there, and we provided this. There were a lot of older school engineers that were not quite ready for it. We walked them through, we got them up to speed, and we helped them out. But, again, this was just renderings on this particular project. But if you go back, this is typically what they were giving us.
Right, that's right.
They were just giving us this and like.
Upgrade you need to get to where we would like, where we.
Yeah, I mean, on some projects, I think the planning board's going to ask for renderings or ask for some photorealistic imagery to see what something looks like within the context of how it's being built. So again, it's just really trying to make some efficiency here and increase the transparency. So
One of the things we had talked about is that, when we have the planning board workshop to go over this in more detail of what he's working on now and what he's also working on for the future. I think that'll help us expedite some of the transition from project to project, but make it easy enough for them.
Right. You don't want,
You got to find that balance.
Smaller engineering firms to run into massive cost upgrading the software to.
no, even if they provide us, if they provide us with site plans and some of the other things, we can talk to them. We can take those. We can do, if it's a PDF, we can import that PDF. So, but this is really the only software here is PowerPoint.
Okay.
That's really it. So that's most people would have access to something like that.
We have e-permitting now, even for planning board applications. So when you get it electronically already.
The layering is where it comes in for the more advanced drafting software.
Yeah.
We're going to force people, smaller companies.
No,
No.
that's not what this is about.
No, it's really just a matter of helping them sort of hone their presentation to make it more relevant to the planning board and be able to get their point across easier.
And Chris will work with anyone if they're having difficulty.
Hopefully, eventually. Yeah.
We're just trying to get more consistency and streamline it. From having the manual plans. They're tough to see. Any other questions, though? Those are great. I think if you have anything that you want to see, with your background and everything, just let Chris know. Okay, planning board workshop. Okay, the next item on here is item.
Cheryl, can I just have a quick planning board update question that I think would be appropriate to ask right now. This is an action item for the planning office that came out of our December 2, 2025 meeting. And at that time, as you may recall, there was a presentation by the Stonebridge Fire District and a discussion between Todd and Timothy Byrne, and I think Ashley participated a little bit in this, concerning the reluctance of the Stonebridge Fire District to share their hydraulic model with Weston and Sampson. And the way that was left is Todd was going to draft a letter, I believe, to the leadership of Stonebridge Fire, their board of directors or their board of assessors or whatever they call it, to suggest a legal non-disclosure of sensitive information contract that would protect any sensitive information in that hydraulic model but also allow that model to go to Weston and Sampson in fulfillment of the contract that the town has with Weston and Sampson to actually review hydraulic models and put both the Stonebridge and the North Tiverton hydraulic models together to see how they fit. And so absent access to the Stonebridge model, and this is a computerized simulation of the entire Stonebridge system from the water treatment facility right through to the piping, the pipes, the nodes that connect the pipes, the pumps, the tanks, the hydrants, the whole works. Absent that, going to Weston and Sampson, we can't really, the town of Tiverton and the Tiverton Planning Board, cannot make an informed decision on whether or not a project that has substantial water requirements can actually be handled. And North Tiverton has a model, and they have shown us that model, and they run new projects through that model to show that those significant projects, I'm not talking about any specific projects, I'm talking about a process.
Which is talking about the planning board update.
That's the question I have.
Okay. The answer is that there have been conversations between the town council liaisons with the water departments as to how that's going to proceed. There have been, Chris is developing relationships with both water departments now to facilitate the transmission of that study, hopefully, or studies to Weston and Sampson. It's an ongoing process. It's not that we've neglected to do something. There have been conversations instead of my presenting a letter.
There is a bit of timing.
But we're not going to talk about that specific item right now because it's not on the agenda.
Okay, then I would request that it go on the agenda of our special workshop.
To what go on the agenda? I just want to know how to phrase it.
The discussion that you're deferring tonight, the discussion about the process, well, the status of the Weston and Sampson contract project. Okay, so Weston and Sampson and the town of Tiverton have entered into a contract, and that contract calls for Weston and Sampson to review both of the hydraulic models for both North Tiverton and Stonebridge. And there is some urgency to moving forward with that because we do have projects coming down the road.
No one disputes that.
A substantial water user. So I would like to keep this item on our agenda so that it doesn't, discussions can go on for years and years. But we need to have a discussion that results in information that the planning board needs to make informed decisions. And we're going to be asked to make those informed decisions very soon.
So let me just kind of address that briefly. So I have had conversations with both North Tiverton, Stonebridge, as well as the sewer districts, met with all three of them, talked about working together, making sure, and really one of the things we're going to be asking from them is comprehensive memos going into each project about what that modeling is, what that delivery would look like. And what we're trying to avoid is having an applicant come in to relay to us what their conversation was with one of the fire districts. So we're looking for some professional, analytical memos that talk about what their capacity is within any kind of development. So we have some reasonable assurances that what they're saying is true, right? So, and we are working with PAR Engineering, and PAR Engineering has done the modeling on both of those. So the modeling has been done consistently. So it's just a matter of trying to get that in a usable format. But again, really what we're not doing, I don't think the planning board, I don't think anybody here has the expertise to look at the modeling and know from that modeling that they can deliver that water as required for particular development. So what we're going to be asking from them is for them to provide that information in a memo citing particulars in terms of both the requirements of the development as well as what their capacity is to deliver it, both in terms of the flow for domestic fire suppression as well as volume and pressure.
But the key, Chris, has to be that the modeling meet industry-wide standards for hydraulic modeling, and there are industry-wide standards under the American Water Works Association Manual 32. Mr. Byrne referenced it, and it's been referenced in the 2 memos that we have had from Par Corporation on the modeling process. From the engineer who was actually working on that. I am concerned as I read those memos that what Stonebridge is developing is not meeting industry standards. So that is the question that I would like to put to Weston and Sampson.
So
I'm not an
Stonebridge,
engineer.
I'm stopping this. We're going too far afield. We'll put on the workshop agenda status of the Weston and Sampson contract regarding the water studies, and separately, the process of the planning department working with the water districts and the wastewater management district. Is that what you're asking for?
Yes.
Okay.
I think having those 2 items so that one is more general than the Weston
And
Sampson.
I was just going to say that. We will invite the water districts and Mr. Nemirovsky.
And they have both agreed, as well as the wastewater, when needed, they will be here at meetings related to any particular development, so the planning board can ask any questions that are specific to a development.
And I would just ask Ed, when you put together the agenda for the workshop, that when we're doing it, to keep in mind the North Tiverton and Stonebridge and wastewater, be considerate of their time and do it either at the front end of the meeting or the back end.
You want to do this at the workshop or the? At a workshop.
Well, we want the
At a workshop?
discussion at the
Okay.
workshop.
And with Stonebridge there? And, okay.
Workshop.
Town council. Can we have a workshop that's just us in the water districts?
Yes.
This isn't the workshop with the town council.
Oh, okay,
This
so
is a
what workshop are
workshop
you-
just for
well,
the
you-
planning board.
Right, you mentioned adding it to a workshop, because that's where we started out. What
So the
workship
work-
are we adding this to, rather than just
So
have
the
it by
next
itself?
item on here, scheduled planning board workshop, is
Which-
just for the planning board. This isn't
That's
the
not the
town
one.
council
Okay,
workshop.
okay.
They're 2 distinct
Okay.
workshops, sorry for any
Sorry.
confusion. Ed is working on coordinating
We
that
have a lot of
workshop.
workshops going on. All right, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, good.
So, is there anything else on that one? Planning office update?
Planning office update is done.
Done, okay. So the next item is scheduling the planning board workshop. Ed is coordinating this with Chris. We want this workshop to benefit the planning board and the planning office. We want to find our best practices and implement those. We want to work on any areas that we need improvement on, as far as flow of the meetings, information for the meetings, information the planning office is giving to us, information that they need from us. So it's basically the flow and procedures. What procedures do we need to follow? What's working and what isn't? That's what we're envisioning. If we can put any of our questions, any of our concerns, anything that we want for the agenda, hopefully we'll fill up a meeting. I think that's not going to be a problem. I think we'll have to schedule something beyond there. Send all of the requests to Ed.
So I guess where my hangup is, it seems like maybe this particular water department's being a little bit difficult to get a hold of. Are they going to want to come and sit in on a meeting where we're going to talk about communication amongst each other?
Well, that's why I'm saying either at the front part or the beginning part, but that's up to
Okay.
Chris. If
Okay.
not, he can schedule something
Okay.
dedicated to them,
Okay.
and maybe it's the first 30 minutes of the meeting, because no, they're not going to want to sit through,
Right.
you know.
To make it as
Most people
mandatory
wouldn't.
as possible would be great.
Right.
Yeah,
We
okay.
want to make it as efficient as possible, and that's
Well, yeah,
kind of the goal
want
of
a
the
meeting with
workshop.
them. Yeah, okay.
They did both appear when we asked them to in November or December.
Okay.
Okay.
But in regards to a different topic, I'm guessing.
It was
right?
about water.
It was about water, okay.
The status of their studies.
Okay.
My preference would be to dedicate, the first portion of the meeting so that they can get in there and then get out and take care of their own business. But I think Ed needs to receive, I think you had
So we sent-
surveyed the group for the dates.
I surveyed the group for the workshop with the town council.
Okay.
I have not surveyed the group for this particular workshop, but we're going to put a doodle poll out for this workshop. But for the town council workshop, I need people to give me their days that they are not available for the month of March. Not available.
Let's just focus on the planning board workshop.
Okay, sorry.
As I have it for the planning board workshop only, we have the status of the water study with Weston and Sampson contract, process of working with the water districts and the wastewater management district, the planning board, planning office processes. Is there something else you want identified on that agenda?
I think if there's training needed, if there's something that we're looking for, this is a good opportunity to ask for that. To go over the packages for the planning board and the timing of those packages. What Chris is working on to have available electronically. Anything?
No. No, all right now.
So any other items, you can funnel it through Ed.
Can Ed just send us out a list of dates, or maybe just send like an email? We'll email you right back. We'll figure it out that way, kind of.
Yeah, we're going to do a poll, a doodle poll. So you're going to have dates. You pick the ones that you're available for. and-
Okay.
Something easy,
Yep.
quick, efficient.
Don't make me do it right now.
I won't.
That's what I'm saying. All right, thank you.
Okay. Next item? Okay. 5J, approval of planning board minutes. Ed will have those ready shortly. They're not available for this meeting, so we'll put that off to the next meeting? Okay. Update from zoning, Tiverton Zoning Ordinance Committee that Deb Janik chairs. Deb and the group is asking for a comprehensive survey of the land area of Stafford Pond and the surrounding area. You can tell us, maybe we can put together those specifics for you and then get that information to the planning board. We feel it would be more appropriate for the planning board to ask for that information.
As long as we have something that we can discuss at our April meeting,
Yeah.
so we can put it on the agenda for
We were
discussion.
going to do that, but we canceled the last meeting due to the snow, so
Okay.
we'll do that at our next meeting.
Okay, so when's your next meeting?
Monday?
Monday? Okay, so then we'd formulate a request to the planning board. We can put it on the agenda. We can discuss it. Todd, I would ask that question about costs. If there was a cost involved, would that be split up with the,
Cost to do what?
if there's a request to look into the feasibility of the
Status
study.
status of,
We want to find out what is available out there, the information that's out there, when is it dated?
Stafford Pond?
Sorry?
What are you looking for?
The watershed area, the land area, we want to take another look at that. The most recent documentation, there are people that say it goes back to the 1990s, there's stuff from 2010, but we don't know if the soil was looked at, if the landmass area was looked at. So we want someone to take a look at it. We could probably also use that for the comp plan, going forward. But we want the proper engineers to take a look at it and to tell us that land area is adequate. It can be minimized, we need to extend it, whatever it
Like
is.
the current watershed area around Stafford Pond.
Current
basically.
watershed area, the land area, not what is done in a watershed, but the land area.
Like a build-up.
Yeah.
That may need to be like a North Tiverton committee
It's- Yeah,
funded application. I don't know yet. But Chris, think we'll have more information.
I think we'll define exactly what we're looking for in our next meeting and then present that to the planning office so it can be put on the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay. Next item, 5L, update from the Tiverton Harbor Commission. Alan?
Hello. Let's see. On the 17th, we had our meeting. The updated draft dated 6/15/2025 with the recent approved changes, including the storm preparedness section was worked on. We worked on the section 14 of the town code, specifically having to do with anchoring, section 14-151. There's some changes to the amount of days where you can have transitional anchoring. Section 14-107 was modified for non-riparian private mooring to 2 per household. The wait list renewal removal section was modified to require applicants to properly make any updates to their applications. And then there was works on the Harbor Master Report, which gave us our number of unpaid moorings, and that was exciting. But aside from that, that was it. And it was adjourned.
Thank you. Okay, the next item, 5M, election and appointment of board members. I think everyone knows that unfortunately Bill Gerlach needed to resign from his position. Bill did an incredible job, spent an incredible amount of hours working to put together the information for these meetings, assisted all the board members, and it's going to be a huge loss for us. So on the agenda for tonight, we have election of new officers.
I'd like to make a motion, nomination, actually. Are we open yet?
We're going to do the chairperson first. Ed will take the nominations because he's the neutral person.
Okay, I'd like to make a nomination for Cheryl Valentine for chair.
Anyone else? Any other nominations? Going once? Twice? No other nominations? Call the vote, Ed.
Unanimous. Oh, sorry.
They have to vote.
All in favor?
Of?
Of electing Cheryl Valentine as the
Say aye.
Chairperson.
chairperson.
Aye.
Everyone vote? Call the vote, Ed. 6-0?
Oh.
You vote for yourself? Or do you want to?
No.
No, sorry.
No,
501.
Sweat too much.
Congratulations.
This is a lot harder than I thought it would be.
You've done great. Now you get to handle the elections.
Oh.
Nominations for vice chair.
Nominations for vice chair. Going to open it up for nominations for vice chair. Any?
Stu Hardy.
Thank you very much, but no.
No discussion?
No discussion. I've been vice chair and I've been chair twice.
And we thank you for that,
That's
Stu.
enough.
We appreciate that.
Then I guess I'll make a nomination of Rosemary vice chair. The institutional knowledge is so important.
I'm sorry. I've also held it for a very long time, twice.
Dick Taylor, looks like the winner.
It's not here, right?
Yeah.
Well, anyone else that's interested?
I go for Dick, but
Well,
There is an option for leaving it open, isn't it?
I think what I was just going to say is we have 2 openings on the board right now. We are going to be working on, I don't want to say qualifications, but, enhanced information for new board members. So as we have 2 openings, I would just say we leave that position open at this point in time.
We have no say in it. We have no say in the matter of who comes on. It's up to the town council.
Yes. We're just going to make recommendations.
They will accept your
No,
input.
we don't even do that.
They will accept your input. But you need a vice chair. just in case you're ill some night.
Yeah.
Interim?
Or what you call it.
We went out for quite a while.
I don't know.
They go to the town council.
That doesn't help us for April's meeting if Cheryl's sick, though.
Right.
Is that something that Chris can step in for, or that you can step in for, if anything happens? No. Okay, so we need an interim or an actual vice chair.
Alternate, interim.
Forced vice chair? Somebody? Janice?
I can't right now.
Very short.
Okay.
Can we wait?
It's back. Oh,
We can always do that.
or can we say for 60 days or whatever
No,
you're
you just-
comfortable
you
with?
just take it, you can resign.
Yeah,
Okay.
if somebody else says they want it, I'll resign.
My schedule is straight up.
Are you nominating Adam?
I will nominate Adam Reposa for vice chair, planning board.
A second.
All those, are there any other nominations? Since we just went through that, I would say no. So all those in favor?
5-0.
Thank you, Adam.
501.
Secretary.
Do we have any?
Really, Stu?
I don't think so, but we do, but, you know.
Let's go
our
through the
bylaw-
process. Any nominations for secretary for
Our
the planning
bylaw
board?
does have that listed, so. And actually, VA Lopes was secretary. She didn't have much to do, but.
So are there any nominations for the position of secretary? Any nominations? Okay, I think we just,
We'll leave it temporarily vacant.
We never had one.
okay, so noted. And the only thing wasn't on
No,
the
we have
agenda?
TRC.
If you read the,
Oh, appointment of board member to the technical review committee.
yeah, but if you read the ordinance that we adopted, it says 1 and the max is 3. At least
So we can hold 2? We can have up to 3?
we can have up to 3.
Yeah.
So-
We have 1 opening.
And we're supposed to appoint annually.
And also the chair of the TRC, which will be, I guess, Chris, as a planner, can bring in other members of the planning board depending on the particular project that's being discussed at the TRC. If there is somebody on the planning board with special expertise, for example. And I think, Chris, you also have the option of bringing in different people in town government based on based on the characteristics of the project.
They're all there. Practically all of them.
Yeah, so practically all of them are already there, but
But I mean,
Who was
is
on
that
from this board, Stu?
Rosemary and Dick.
Dick and VA was 3, but we don't have to have 3. I read it again today.
yeah, we don't have.
So you, Rosemary, you think you're still?
Yes.
So do you want to just leave it?
That is also something we can wait until we
Yeah,
have the 2 new
absolutely.
members and then ask again if that's okay.
Yeah, and I think
If it's
you're,
up to 3.
again, if it's up to 3, but you don't need 3, I think leave it 2, and then we'll read the third one as needed.
And anybody you can, the voting,
That's fine.
way I enter.
Ed, did you want to go over your project list that you handed out at the beginning of the meeting?
Yeah, so the project list.
Returning to item 5H.
Yep, returning to item 5H.
Thank you.
Planning office update. Just a couple of quick updates. So some of the projects that were finished that were on the February 3rd project list, I removed if they were finalized, so we can make some more make some space, and also I didn't want to keep old projects on there. But if anybody has a recommendation to put them on another page, make an alternate page for finished projects, just let me know. We can keep track of those as well, just in a separate document. Right now, just some updates on some of the projects that are ongoing. We currently had a couple of preliminary plans approved. Hartnett minor subdivision preliminary plan was approved on March 2nd. We also had tonight Aruda. We had an extension of the Aruda subdivision. Boathouse submitted their final plan on 2/23. It was certified complete today, 3/3/2026. We also have an application coming in front of us soon, 1289 Stafford Road. We had the concept plan for this back in December. This is for the existing 112,600 square foot mixed-use building on Stafford Road. That's currently going through a minor land development application process. That's ongoing. There's going to be a TRC for that as well. And also we had Zero Lake Road. The final plan was approved on 2/4, and it was recorded on 2/6. And that's it for now.
Ed, just a question. On a couple of the projects, I was just looking on page 7. If the project is outlined here, but there is no status of construction or additional notes, like Ignite Culture, People's Credit Union,
Yeah.
you are just waiting to hear back from them if they're going to take the next step?
Correct. We have not heard back from them at this point. They were in front of us and for concept, and we just have not heard back. I do know People's Credit Union a firm from out of state is working on that, and from what I was told that they were going to, there was potentially, I guess, a change in plans for that, so we may or may not see it going forward. So some of those are kind of just up in the air, but that's why it's blank.
Any status of 331 Main Road, the church, anything there?
Nothing at this point.
They've got building permits out though.
They don't have building permits. They don't. No, they haven't got enough. They haven't filed the final plan. Same with 439 did file a final plan, but it was certified incomplete, and we're waiting for documentation to certify that complete.
You're talking about the Hicks Farm?
Correct.
Yeah.
Ed had passed out to you 2 resolutions from the Town Council, 2026-0001 and 0002. Those both concern the council's position on low and moderate income housing and general laws that were passed in the 2025 legislative session. Those are for your information, and also somewhat responsive to some of the correspondence that was noted on the agenda.
Where's the clock? Right. No, the one on your.
901.
Can I do it? Yeah. I'll make a motion of 9:02, adjournment. No, you don't need a second.
The privileged motion.